Hey, everybody, and welcome to Jerseys with Josh. I want to create the most informative and exciting NHL game worn jersey channel on YouTube. I love game worn jerseys, and that's because they can connect us with our favorite players, our favorite teams, and really unique moments in hockey history. If you like the content, please like it and subscribe. Leaving comments is welcome, of course. This is the first video of the Hobby How-To series. Today, we're going to talk through the unwritten rules of the hobby of collecting NHL game-worn jerseys. So whether you're new to the hobby or you've been around for a while, hopefully this is helpful for you. I've distilled it down to 3 themes and 11 rules. Let's go. So this hobby has grown an absolute ton. The more people in it, the merrier. And that's part of why I built this channel, is to try and grow this hobby. So let's jump into rule number 1. And I keep putting rules in air quotes. These are absolutely unwritten rules, but some things that I thought about, some things I've learned along the way. So rule number 1 is join some Facebook groups and get active. This is definitely a growing community. It's grown since I started in the hobby back in 2007 in that realm. And one of the best things that you can do once you get into those Facebook groups is treating others fairly and kindly with some positive comments in those Facebook groups. If you see somebody posting a jersey that you really like, give them a big old like and let them know in the comment that you think that jersey is really cool. Some of the Facebook groups you might enjoy include game-worn hockey jerseys or vintage game-worn hockey jerseys, depending on the eras you're interested in. There are also team-specific ones, so you could do Buffalo Sabres or Toronto Maple Leafs or Washington Capitals, whatever gets you excited. There's also league-specific groups, so ECHL, AHL, and others. Just make sure you note and follow group rules while you're in there. Some of the things you can do when you're in these game-worn hockey jersey groups on Facebook include sharing what you have. We typically call that a mail day in the hobby. Telling stories about the jerseys that you have in your collection. Sometimes when you're in there, you'll see somebody post up a new jersey that they got, and it'll say NFS/NFT or JFS. Those stand for not for sale, or not for trade, or just for show. And that's just somebody wanting to share a very cool jersey that they've added to their collection. Another thing you can do while you're in there is asking others what they have. So you might say, hey, everybody, post up your favorite enforcer jerseys. And people will typically respond with some pictures of their favorite jerseys from the enforcers in the league or goalies, what have you. It's a great place to watch for new sale listings. It's a great place to learn. There's so much to know. And very important, very critical is to use the search function when you're in the Facebook groups. There's a lot of information that's been compiled over years and years and years. So if you have a question, start by searching it. And a lot of times you can get a lot of information from there. Let's head into rule number 2, which is help each other out. Hot listings come up for jerseys that are high in demand. They can sell very, very quickly from the time they're listed. So as you spend more time in the community, you'll get a sense of what other people are looking for. And by tagging them, you're helping them find what's out there. A quick example is I saw a jersey posted on eBay that I knew somebody always collected this certain player, which is Marty Biron. And so I posted it up in the Facebook group and tagged the person once I figured out who it was to let them know that there was something there. So that's a great way to kind of help one another out and make sure that someone knows that if there's something they're collecting in particular is out there, that it's there and they can take a look at it and decide if it's something they want to add to their collection. Rule number 3 is staying informed. And there's lots of people who are into NHL jerseys. Sometimes big news happens and you'll want to know that. So 2 channels that I personally love to follow on YouTube are Aesthetics, which is done by Chris, and Post2Post Productions, done by Neil. And they're highly recommended in my opinion. That's how, for example, I found out that the Buffalo Sabres are bringing back the black goat head jersey next year. Finally, that means that next year Sabres Goat Head Gamers will be available, which is really exciting. And so guys like these are on top of the jersey news, and I'm hoping that my channel can complement theirs. So gentlemen, thank you for all the content that you create. I absolutely love watching the content you produce. On to rule number 4, which is participating live. So every year, the My Gray group does a live expo. Of course, it's been tougher the last couple of years with COVID, but they typically bring some really incredible jerseys. There are some really great keynote speakers, and sometimes they do a grab bag, which is a really cool way to spend just a little bit of money on a box. You don't know what you're going to get. There are typically some huge grand prizes, and it's fun to see who gets what. Of course, Facebook groups can be a great help as well. Lots of times folks will plan a local event. And so if you're in the Facebook group for the team that's closest to you, you might see a local meetup. Definitely encourage you to go. It's a great way to bring the hobby to life and meet others with a similar passion. So into theme number 2, which is preservation. And every game-worn jersey is a piece of NHL history. They're going to outlive all of us. So preserving them is something I want to talk about. So rule number 5 would be keep the LOA safe. LOA stands for letter of authenticity. They often look very different between companies and teams and leagues. Keep in mind, just because a jersey has an LOA doesn't guarantee that it's authentic. But if you have one, please do keep it somewhere safe that you'll remember. And on the flip side, just because a jersey doesn't have a letter of authenticity doesn't mean it's not authentic. As jerseys move around the hobby by sale or by trade, a lot of times these get lost. So as a rule of thumb, if you purchase a jersey and it has paperwork, keep that paperwork somewhere safe, somewhere you'll remember. Even if you never intend to sell it, it'll help out the next person who will be the caretaker of that jersey. Rule number 6 is autographs. This is a major source of contention and debate in the game-worn jersey collecting hobby. Some prefer to have their jerseys autographed. In some cases, it's autographed behind the crest or on the fight strap. So it's still there, but it's not visible. Most collectors take the stance that a game-worn jersey should not be autographed. It should remain as it came off the ice. And as a result, that often makes autographed jerseys less valuable. Some people really just won't even consider purchasing them if they're autographed. And a personalized autograph is even worse. And this is an area where I learned a lesson, as you can see on the screen. This was one of my very first game-worn jersey purchases back in that 06, 07 era. And I got this Marty Biron, and I just was overjoyed and went to a Sabres game, and I was like, man, I've got to get this autographed. And my opinions have evolved over time. I don't personally intend to get any other game-worn jerseys autographed. I've grown a lot since then. There is a method of getting autographs removed, and that's something I intend to do a video on down the road. If you do have a jersey that is or was autographed and it was removed, always disclaim that if you're selling. But my final opinion is this: if you own the jersey, it's yours. You decide what you want to do with it, but it's good to know where popular opinion lies in this matter. And usually it's that no autograph is better. But if it's your jersey, it's your call. Rule number 7 is wear. So in general, you want to keep the wear on the jersey to the player who played in it. So hence the autograph discussion a moment ago. If you wear a game-worn jersey playing pickup hockey, for example, it'll start to get new wear on it, stick marks and puck marks, but that wear will have come from you and not from the player. So likewise, it might seem like a cool idea to wear your game-worn jersey to a hockey game. I always live in fear. What happens if the kid behind you is eating their hot dog that's covered in mustard and it flips onto the back of your jersey? That's going to be a bad day. So I want to default to it's your jersey and you decide what to do with it 100%. That said, anytime you're buying a jersey, you probably want one that only has wear from the time it's on the player's back, right? So as an example, here's a Nordiques replica that I wore to school one day and boom, stained it. Thankfully, it was not a game-worn jersey. That would have been a bad day. But even in a replica, this one made me sad. All right, that brings us to theme number 3, which is being personable. And this hobby really is a community of people who share a passion. And it's going to remain an awesome hobby for years to come if we always treat each other with kindness and respect. So rule number 8 is to be a great communicator. whether it's buying or selling or trading or just having fun on the Facebook groups. Responding promptly if you're in a conversation about buying or selling, like not immediately, like understand life happens, absolutely, but within a reasonable amount of time if you're trying to get a deal done. And would recommend avoiding lowballing. It's only going to frustrate both parties. If someone has a jersey and they're selling it for $1,000, don't offer 100. Should be common sense. Which brings us to rule number 9. If you're in a Facebook group, make sure you're following those group rules. So in some cases, if you're listing a jersey for sale or for trade, you've got to list how much you feel it's available for, like what that selling cost is. You got to post that price. And so if that's a rule, please make sure you follow those rules or clearly mark that it's for trade only. Following the rules probably saves the group admins a lot of aggravation. And while I'm in that sort of line of thinking, kudos and thank you to all the people who run these groups. I'm sure it takes a lot of time and there are things that need your attention constantly. So thanks for all the work that you do there. On to number 10, some rules on the buying side. If you've agreed to buy a jersey from someone else, the best things you can do are to pay promptly. I'd say within 48 hours, if not sooner, unless it's like otherwise agreed with the seller. Send your address, include your phone number for shipping purposes. If the funds become an issue, be upfront with that. You got to sort of chat with the seller. If they're okay holding on for payment for a week or two, that's up to them. But I would say just don't assume that it's okay to hang on for sort of that long. But it all depends on the seller's situation. So I'd say the TLDR is don't commit to buy if you don't have the funds readily available. Which brings us to our last rule, which is number 11, talking about selling and trading for a moment. Be sure you're shipping or packaging the jersey you're sending with care to the other person. If you have a larger Ziploc bag, that'll protect the jersey or the package from water or liquid damage that could happen. Make sure you include the LOA if you have it. And if you want to make a friend or a long-term like return customer, highly recommend expediting the shipping. It might cost you a few dollars more, but nothing is better than what we call a mail day and seeing your jersey arrive. Knowing that someone else took that extra step to get your jersey a day or two sooner means an absolute ton on the receiving end. And there you have it. 3 themes and 11 unwritten rules to help you navigate the hobby of collecting game-worn NHL jerseys. Thanks for watching and hope you continue to enjoy the hobby.